I lived in Prestwick, one of the residents who I used to enjoy visiting in the residential home for the elderly, which our church had in Ayr, was a man by the name of John Stewart. John was no ordinary man. John's paintings adorned many a room in the home of which he was a part. His wit and his wisdom were unmatched, and his love for young people was impressive. What made it all the more remarkable was that John was 92 years of age and was excited about young people. At times, John was even known to wear shorts and a baseball cap. Often when I visited John, he would challenge my imagination and wisely probe my line of thought. John, over a number of years, became to me a spiritual grandfather, an encouragement, and an inspiration. John was someone whom God used in his 80s and in his 90s. And Joshua was someone whom God used in his 80s and in his 90s. Joshua chapter 13, verse 1. Joshua was old and advanced in years, and the Lord said to him, "You are old and advanced in years, and yet there remains very much land to possess." Since Caleb is 85 years old at this stage, Joshua is likely to be in that same age range. He's probably in his 80s or his 90s. As we'll discover in a few weeks' time, Joshua dies aged 110. So Joshua is in the latter years of his life. He's an old man. And yet, there's a lot of work for him to do. As the old hymn says, there's a work for Jesus only you can do. Even while acknowledging Joshua's advanced years, God still told Joshua about work that still had to be done, as I'm sure he told John Stewart in Ayr about the work that he could do to inspire and to encourage. Even in their advanced years, God has work for his people to do. And I have lost count of the number of people who are older in years, but who are such an encouragement and an inspiration. People who have said to me that they pray for me and that they spend so much time encouraging and thinking of others. You may well be in the latter part of your life. You may even be in your 80s or 90s. You might even be old, and I'll leave you to define whether you are middle-aged or old. But if you're still inhabiting a body here on earth, if you're still breathing as you listen to this, hear this: the Lord has plans for you. Just as the Lord had plans for Joshua. The Lord didn't hold back. He didn't say to Joshua, well, you've fought all these battles, you've led the people now. Joshua, put your feet up. Well done. No, the Lord didn't say that. It wasn't time for Joshua to curl up and wait to die. There were still things for Joshua to do. And no matter what your age or indeed your stage of life, God has plans for you. There is no such thing as retirement in Christian service. There is no such thing as retirement in Christian service. My late father was active in serving the Lord up until the afternoon before the Lord called him home. What an example of faithful Christian service. And so let me invite your consideration of the question today. Are you available to the Lord? Are you asking God to reveal to you what your next assignment is? You know, I could imagine that Joshua may well have had felt somewhat defeated. Joshua had worked faithfully and tirelessly, fighting for God and for the country. He had led the people. He had dealt with all the issues and the challenges, the moans, the groans. But thankfully, the Lord didn't end his conversation there. In verses 6 and 7, the Lord tells Joshua, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. You see, God clearly recognized and recognizes that Joshua did not have the strength and ability, being in his 80s or 90s, to continue leading the fight for the land. Instead, the Lord gives Joshua one last mission. What was that one last mission? Well, that one last mission was to assign the inheritance among the tribes. To assign the inheritance among the tribes. Put simply, God honored Joshua among his fellow Hebrews by giving to him the authority of discerning and handing out the allocation of land. What a joyful task that must have been to this old man in comparison to all the tiring and exhausting and difficult days of war preceding it. Whether you be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, there's a work for Jesus none but you can do.